right, everybody, welcome to yet another episode of the New to Retro Review podcast. This is episode 10, and, well, I didn't even call this meeting. It's my special guest and friend who was on for episode 7 when we talked about Darkstalkers, Lost in Nightmares. What's going on, dude?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Can't complain. Still here, somehow. I don't know why.
Surviving.
Just to suffer.
The truth of life.
This is very true. So yeah, we've gathered here today pretty much to talk about kind of the things that are going on with Capcom and fighting games. Like we almost had a big scare a couple weeks ago that Darkstalkers Resurrection was going to go away on like the PlayStation Network and stuff. And we're also going to talk a little bit about Resident Evil Village. So the big meat and potatoes of this episode is pretty much fighting games. But we're going to talk about Village first because we've both experienced it, and we're both old farts pretty much. So we have our opinions about this. So
oh yes, I have my opinion on it. I'll try and stay nice.
Oh no, dude, be as real as you want to be, man. Like that's the thing, because it's like I always say, if you're not honest about like what's wrong with games, then you're gonna continue to get the same things because companies are gonna be like, oh, well, they like it, so
yeah, fair enough. Well, first spoiler, I didn't buy it. I watched a playthrough of it because I just didn't feel the game like the Resident Evil 7. Like it was a good game, a good horror game, but it was not my kind of Resident Evil. Like I played through it and I did the second half again for the other ending. I wanted to see the bad ending, but like that was kind of lackluster. That's not a spoiler anymore. Just like, oh, I picked Zoe this time, and then 5 minutes later she turns into whatever she turns into, and then it continues almost the same way as the other choice you make. So, and like it didn't set my world on fire, so I was already like kind of skittish on a potential sequel in first person view and stuff like that. So that's how I made that decision.
Yeah, that's
fake fanboy.
No, like I mean, yes, I spent a lot of time contemplating what I played for the 2 nights that I played it, because I beat it in two sittings on stream, and there is a lot to love about this game, but there is also a lot that leaves the game to be desired. And one of the best ways I think that I personally can sum up how I feel about this game is the fact that this game has an identity crisis. It tries to be so many different things, and I don't think it pays off as well as people think that it is. I think it's because it's very, very new and very hype. I think people are just riding the hype train without realizing how, like, the mistakes of it. And I think one of the best examples I can give, I actually thought the beginning of the story, when you're in the village, is amazing. Like, I think it was one of like the best parts because I actually felt genuine fear with the Lycans running around. It's like, in the cornfields or running on the roofs or under the basements and everything like that, or them dropping in on you and you having to like shoot the bags of like sand or whatever those were, the sandbags, to create like a cloud to escape. Like,
yeah, flour, strangely.
Flour, yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, like it all that worked, and then you get to the castle, and I thought the castle was really good. I thought Lady D and her daughters were good, except for the fact that like I think the way that you fought the daughters was way too easy.
Yeah, they seemed like normal-esque enemies. There wasn't like really much special to them.
There really wasn't. Like I didn't have really a problem with any of them, especially the final two. Like the final two daughters were it was rough, I feel, and like it was I felt like I was cheated, because the other thing too, Capcom kind of built Lady D and her daughters up to be something bigger, and they're like the first bosses of the game.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest gripes. I think they were taken by surprise with like the impact Lady Dimitrescu, if I pronounce it correctly,
I actually think you did
on the infamous interwebs, because she basically became a meme queen overnight, and like obviously her role was already like kind of set in stone because they were like way further in development than we think they would be when they revealed that trailer featuring her. And like obviously everyone was really into Lady Dimitrescu, I'm in love and stuff like that. But like especially with her daughters, like they get introduced in the game, and like kind of 50 minutes later you put the first one down. So they don't get a real lot of character development.
They really don't. Like, if you read the books, like, yeah, you kind of get like a little backstory with them. You get more about Lady D herself and stuff, and like why
Yeah.
she's so tall and how and what. I'm glad they explained that. But yeah, it just like I love the castle part, and I did like fighting Lady D and the daughters, and having her like just pop up randomly, and the daughters just showing up randomly too. I think they did a real good job with that. Kind of like how you felt with like Mr. X in Resident Evil 2 remake. I think they did like a
Yeah, the stalker type thing.
yeah, like I think they really did a good job with that, and unfortunately the payoff just wasn't there at the end. Like when you found out how, like, the thing of it is, it should have been the way it should have all worked, in my opinion, should have been Monroe, like that guy, the fish monster. He should have been
Hmm.
the first one you went to, because that felt like a very early boss in many ways. Like he gave
Yeah,
off early boss vibes, and then the second one would have been the dollhouse. That gave off the Silent Hill vibes. Again, like the fish part was really Resident Evil 4 like, and
yeah, I got that vibe really heavy from that.
yeah, like it was there. And then like I felt with the Donna or whatever, the lady with the
Yeah,
dolls. Yeah, Donna. Yeah, yeah.
Donna and Angie.
Angie. Yep. Like that was the. It was great because I was initially scared as shit going in there, but
Yeah,
and then like when you see that mannequin of Mia on that table, I was waiting for that thing to come alive, and it didn't. And I was actually, you know what? As much as I'm disappointed that it didn't come up and try to grab me in some kind of like weird hallucination thing, I like the fact that they made me believe that this was probably going to happen, like with that stupid clown in RE7. Where like fucking grabbed your hand and like
yeah.
wrote loser into your, like carved loser into your arm. Like I thought like that was good, but then like the giant baby walking down the hallway, like that should have scared
That
me
was
because
terrifying. I was even like, "What the fuck is this?" Where I went just watching with, like, oh, well, I'm actually glad I'm not playing because I don't like this. Like the entire section there was really well done.
yeah.
Like it was more like Silent Hill esque stuff, like not really befitting of Resident Evil, but putting that aside, it was really well done for like a horror game.
Mm.
Like really well done, especially like the boss fight as well, which I won't spoil too much with like what happens, but like it was just like different, and you like funnily enough, which I realized later on, like for that entire um bit, you never use your gun or something. You're just basically like interacting with things without guns, which is different.
Mm-hmm. It is. It was very reminiscent of like PT Silent Hills, and I think a lot of
Yeah.
fans were really happy with that. I think the problem was that area was too short. That was a level
Yeah.
that if
Oh,
you had
way too short.
if you had expanded upon that, like not like as big as the castle, but if you like like just strengthened it and lengthened it a little bit more, I think you would have had a lot more fun with it, because it just like it made you want more, and there ain't more for it. And then like you start going into like Heisenberg's factory and all this stuff, and that was like I
Yeah.
think like one of the weakest parts of the game. As cool as it looked on the inside, like it looked phenomenal. And that's the one thing I do say about this game. Every area, even if you don't like the area, looks amazing, like beautifully
Looks very
designed.
pretty.
Yeah, like that RE engine's really doing it, man. Um,
Like the thing is with like I did not like the general idea of the Heisenberg factory in like in a Resident Evil game. Like I kind of like the Heisenberg character, and like if you would look like you probably know the section when you come into like the big area and you see all these like bodies being transported over these like rails or whatever they call it. Like it's just a manufacturing line, and you see this entire scope of the factory. Like that looks really cool and great. And like if it would be some kind of other game with like robotic as shit, not like a Capcom's take on Terminator or something, just spitting things, like that would be really cool. But for a Resident Evil game, nah.
Yeah, it's like I said, like they kind of just went all over the place with this game and its characters, its story. I mean, they did connect to a lot of older Resident Evil lore and older characters, and I think that was actually like a cool thing to do. A lot of people are like, oh, they should have built upon it. I was like, yeah, but this is also they focus this more on being Ethan's story, and
Yeah.
Ethan this time around is a great character. Everybody loves the guy now. Because like they're not trying
Don't.
to. Okay, so one person doesn't like him now. Like yeah, I mean, like in Resident Evil 7, in my opinion, and I will stand by this until the day I die. RE7 was made purely for VR purposes, and I feel that Resident Evil 7 was supposed to be a game of its own, but Capcom got afraid that maybe like it's because it's not Resident Evil, it's not going to sell, so they turned it into Resident Evil 7. I really feel that that's why they did.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, what they did, because now we're at the like the rule of 3 with Resident Evil. Like every like like the original Resident Evil games were all like the Raccoon City stories. Then you had what do you call it there? Resident Evil 4 and 5 and 6 was pretty much the fallout from Umbrella and how it's affected the world since they were gone, and then obviously trying to bring it back. And then 7 is like its own self-contained story, and it does a lot of things good. Like I said before, it just when you're trying to cram so much in and put new stuff in, when you haven't taken care of a lot of older stuff, like where's Jill Valentine? Why aren't older characters coming back for one final push? Like maybe Resident Evil 9 will allude to that, but or do that. But I really feel that the series is kind of losing more luster again. I mean, it's kind of stayed relevant, but it's just there's so many branching paths that it's like, where are they actually taking this at this point?
That's the feeling I have as well, because I'm just kind of like, I feel like I'm at this crossroads with this franchise now, because it's the first time I didn't like pick up main game like day one. Like that's like almost like more than a decade of that being like just ended, because there was from Resi 5 up until Resi 3 remake, and well, I didn't get Resi 4 day one because GameCube, and I got it a bit later on PS2. I can't remember, to be honest, but I got like Resident Evil 3, the classic one, on launch, if I can remember correctly. It's been too long ago, but like with this one, it just didn't like it felt like going in all the different directions, and they're trying to put it all together. But after I've seen like the playthrough, I'm just like curious, like where are we going with this? Like it's all over the place. And like you said, with older characters, like it seems to me with every game, like they introduce a new side character, like starting with Billy and Carlos, even Sheva. Who else do we have? Helena Harper, and all those kinds of characters.
Yep.
They pop up and they do a thing, and like strangely enough, most of them survive, and you never see them again.
It's true. That's a very true thing. Like I think one of the only characters that doesn't get that is Steve Burnside. Like, they alluded that he could come back.
Die.
Yeah, he literally gets killed, and Wesker is like, it's like, oh, I have his body, maybe he'll come back like me someday, yada yada yada. It's just like, well, Code Veronica was like 21 years ago. I'm still waiting for that fucking shit to get resolved. But
I'm afraid you can still wait 21 years long.
Oh my god, I'll be in my like friggin' 50s at that point. Fuck that noise. But yeah, like it really upsets me that like there's characters that you can still do things with and you don't. Like Chris has like a new team in this now. And oh yeah, like Chris's part pretty much becomes pure Call of Duty, like Resident Evil 6 style.
Yeah.
And at that point, I'm like, you know what? The game is doing everything else it wants to at this point. I say, fuck it. Let's just have some fun and mow down some fucking werewolves. Like I had fun with that part. I'm not gonna lie. That part was like one of the best parts in the game for me. But I'm not gonna sit here and say that it wasn't what it could have been. But
no, but I to give it credit, which is like rare for me, because I love hate on stuff if I don't like it. But to give it credit, like at that point, like you've played Ethan and now you're Chris, like he's experienced in all this biohazard stuff. Like he comes in with a full team and weapons. Let him mow down stuff and blow up things and go balls out, which is fine, because that's the idea of like, oh, we're going in now and we need to kill things, not to spoiler too much, which which is fine with me because he fulfills his role, and with Ethan is he's still a bit more like I wouldn't say entirely unfamiliar with the situation, but sometimes he still acts like it. But
Yeah.
he's not as fully trained and experienced as Chris is.
Oh yeah, Chris has got like decades of like experience, and all Ethan has are like books at his house to like read on like training and stuff. Which that's cool that he learned anyway. It shows
Yeah,
it shows an
fair
actual
enough.
like evolution to the character. But I think one of the best examples you can give about a Resident Evil game actually doing the job right with connecting stories while adding new stuff to it is Revelations 2.
Yeah,
I think Rev 2 did it the best because you brought back Claire and Barry. You let us play like Myra was alongside them, Natalia was alongside of them. There's so many like Easter eggs and callbacks to the older games, the story, the lore, to like anything from Resident Evil like 4 and 5. There's things for the original Resident Evil. There is so much, and there's a lot of character development within the game at times too, and you really see how these characters are affected by the events of it. And I think Rev 2 does that better than most Resident Evil games do. And Rev 2 got shit on like when it first came out because everyone's like, "Oh, it's so low budget like and everything." And I was like, "Well, I mean, yeah, it looks like it's a smaller developed game, but it still looks amazing."
yeah, like it had a limited budget because at that point, like it came off SE6, and even though that game was commercially successful,
Oh yeah.
like it sold millions, and but like it was popular with like people who like a shooter, and it's like there's tons of co-op content if you like that. Want to
Mhm.
play with a friend, like you can play that for hours straight, but like they were being a bit careful with when they were doing Rev 2s, like it was scaled back and smaller and a bit more focused and narrowed down in terms of like gameplay, and not as like balls to the wall as Resident Evil 6 did with like exploding car parks basically.
Yeah, pure Michael Bay
And
movie. Yeah.
yeah, I didn't want to say it, but you did it for me.
Oh yeah, I had to do it.
And like it felt more focused to the task it was wanting to do, and like more like Resident Evil 4, 5-esque, but a little bit more like horror orientated and less action shooter. And I enjoyed it. Like also bringing back Barry was a surprise to me because to be honest, I didn't think we would ever see that character again in a mainline game, I should say.
Yeah. I didn't think so either. I thought that they like completely forgot about him.
But it was nice to see some like development, and also having like a daughter of him, because it was kind of like in Resi 1 that obviously Wesker had his family basically as hostage, as leverage to use Barry for his own devious purposes. But I mean, they expanded on it, and like Alex Wesker as well, not to be forgotten. Like some people didn't like her, but I actually enjoyed her part. And well, Claire was back. She kind of like felt like a bit of an afterthought after like not being used after Code Veronica. Like kind of they forgot about her or something.
Yeah, that's kind of a good way to put it. Actually, yeah, like they did.
And like wheeling back towards like when you compare because I touched upon Resident Evil 6, which that game like tried so many things to do, wanted to be everything besides basically a Resident Evil game, and like with some of the sequences the controls wouldn't work out either, very when you were like basically what was it, motorcycle racing and stuff like that. It just felt a bit wonky. And I have like not as much, but I get the feeling when I see things with Resident Evil 8 that Capcom was also trying lots of different things, like, oh, let's throw things on the wall and see what sticks and what doesn't. At least that's the feeling I got. Not as extreme as in Resident Evil 6, but still.
Yeah, I mean it's a good thing. I mean, like here's one of the things that like I
Village to me would have been better if they took their time to support VR with it. This game in VR would have been, and I'm not a fan of VR in any way, shape, or form. I actually think it's ridiculous. I'm not really a fan of it at all because it's a gimmick. Like, everyone's just like, oh, you can't call it a gimmick. And I was like, yeah, I can. You had Resident Evil 7, which was a great VR game, don't get me wrong, but where were the other games like it? Where were the other fully compatible games that were like,
nowhere.
a 6 to 7 to 10 hour experience? No, you got $30 tech demos is what you got. Now, yes, this is the first generation VR. I get that. But if you can do that with Resident Evil 7, what's to stop you from doing it with the other games? So Village, in my opinion, would have worked way better because I know like you can upgrade your your speed and your stamina and stuff like that, but I still felt that the game was very clunky regardless in a way that didn't work for it. Like first person and moving like it was, I feel that like you move way better than you in like games like Doom Eternal. Or something, minus a, like a double jump and hook shots and all that stuff, I really do feel that this game was supposed to be VR, and they just pumped it up because they needed something, and VR would be a game changer for this game because it would be a lot more fun. And think of playing something like Mercenaries in VR.
Yeah, that would be quite fast paced. Like I'm not a fan of VR either because, like you say, it feels to me like a gimmick and like. It'll be fun for 10 minutes, but then I don't want this thing around my head. And if I want to play a game, I just want to play it like normally, like headphones already enough for me. But like, I'll probably know why they didn't support VR because then the whole Lady Dimitrescu situation would get way out of hand. And that's why they didn't do VR. Sorry, I got the inside notes out of Capcom HQ. I'm sorry.
I just think VR would have done so much better in the long run. But either way, the game. I mean, like the game's out now. There's nothing we can do about that. I mean, if they decide to do that in the future, then I'm just gonna be like, oh, okay. I'll try it in VR because the game feels like it's made because it's more fast paced than 7 was. The molded in RE7 were very stunted in their movements, so VR worked. But yeah. I still feel like he controls like he did in the last game, and it kind of hurts. Even though like you can speed yourself up and everything. So I don't know. Like overall, like I do like what they did with Village. I like the ending, like where they get that body from the BSAA, and it's apparently a bioweapon. And I'm thinking to myself, this I like.
I'm just like, where are they going with this? Because I was already calling like, oh, so we're going to have evil BSAA now and versus Blue Umbrella, so the sides are shifted or something. Obviously, we don't know where it's going, but I was just like, interesting.
Yeah, I thought long and hard about that myself, and I can figure like that if like whatever they plan to do for 9 is probably going to be directly connected to this this bioweapon deal. And I think that like they're gonna
be.
Yeah, I was gonna say it better be, because I feel that what they're gonna do is they're gonna have like Chris go on like this hunt to like get the people responsible at the BSAA for doing this, because like Chris and Jill founded this like with a bunch of like with the intent to stop bioweapons after Umbrella fucking shut down, but all the shit got leaked on the black market, and now they're using it now. And I can see like if there's a villain, he's going to be like one of those villains that you can identify with, kind of like how you could with Mother Miranda and why she did the things she did. Like, it wasn't like your typical, I'm going to destroy the world and separate the chaff. Do you really understand? And it's like, instead of getting comic book villain, we're getting a villain that makes sense. So I'm thinking that in 9, they might do the same thing, that whoever decided to do this, they're going to be like, it's like, Chris, do you know how many men and women have died during the years of the BSAA? Like, do you understand, like, what has been lost? If we use these bodies of fallen soldiers, that means less people will have to die. We will have something to combat. Like, these can react quicker to the bioweapons than a normal human. Like, if that's the route they take, and then, I'll be like, okay, you know what? You put some thought into this, Capcom. I like that idea. I think that's something that would work, because, again, it would make the most sense, because why else would you do it? Is the real question.
Otherwise, it would make zero sense. But, and again, like, don't underestimate Capcom in certain things. Like, I've got too many experience with them on, like, with their fighting game division in the past, so I'm prepared for anything these days.
It's very true. So, I mean, I guess final thoughts on Village for me. I like the game in a lot of ways. But there's a lot of things I feel that were unnecessary. I think there were things that could have been added. I think there could have been things that should have been taken away. And I think as an overall experience, like I give it like pretty much like a 6 to 7 out of 10. It's not a terrible score by any means, and it's not a terrible game by any means. In fact, I actually think I like it a little bit more than RE7 at times, just because of the content that they do have with it. But overall, I hope that now, because Ethan, the father's story is done, I really hope that in the future they really focus on Chris and other characters. Because the one thing I will say before we end the Village talk is the fact that 25 years of Resident Evil is a long time. And obviously, we're not going to be able to keep the same characters around forever because a lot of them are getting older, and I understand that. So if you want to kill some of them off, have some of them retire, whatever the case may be, you can do that, and then you can start giving us more new characters, maybe characters that are connected to someone, or hell, give us a game about Hunk finally, like, you know, like what he's been up to, like make that like the transitioning period to newer characters in the future or whatever. But I understand that things have to change. You just got to make sure you do everything you can to finish up what isn't finished.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So
Definitely.
yeah,
And
so
I would rate it like around the same. Like I haven't played it, so obviously I can't give my opinion. Like, oh, well, were the controls clunky? No, because I watched someone else moving around. But I would put it around 7-ish, like as in out of 10, as in score. Like the game itself is pretty good, but like being a Resident Evil game, like it has more expectations in my book. So yeah, we'll see where it goes. I'm glad people are having fun with it. Like I'm not going to actively bash it, but like it's not for me.
yeah, exactly. Like it's not for everybody. It does a good job at what it does at some parts, but overall, we just hope that Resident Evil 9 changes things up a bit.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, another 3 years for that, but hopefully we'll get like, you know, some other games in between, like maybe Revelations 3 would be nice, Capcom.
Hopefully.
Wink, wink, hint, hint. Do it now.
The rumor has it that a Village started out as a Revelations 3, but like take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, like, I mean, that could have been Village. I mean, like, yeah, that could have been Rev 3 in some ways. I'm kind of glad it wasn't, because what we got was completely different than what, like, Rev 2 gave us, because Rev 1 and Rev 2 left us on cliffhangers, but at least, like, more people want to see how Rev 2 plays out in that story, because, well, let's face it, Alex Wesker is still alive. There still is a Wesker there's technically 2 Weskers still in the world, her and Jake. So
yeah, but Jake is not a true no, sorry, I'm just playing. But you're right, and well, if we're lucky, Alex will hit puberty again, so she has to deal with that first. But she's still running around, and I do want Capcom to pick up on that, like, loose end, because that's too big of a loose end to do nothing with.
oh yeah, without a doubt. It's 100%, dude. That is something that's huge, and they need to resolve that at one point, because if you leave that untouched, then you've effectively pissed off a lot of your fan base.
Yeah,
but
we'll see.
Yeah, so
we'll have to be patient.
Yeah, well, patience isn't my strong suit. But yeah, so that's our thoughts on Village. I guess we can go into the next topic, which is the real reason why we're here. So why don't you talk about that, dude? Like your thoughts and opinions about this upcoming subject.
Yes, let's get to the meat and potatoes. Village was a nice appetizer. Thank you for cooking, by the way.
Of course.
We were going to touch upon some of Capcom's fighting games. Well, basically one being, many people are familiar with the Marvel vs. Capcom series, which is like famous, I guess. And we all know that the last entry in that series wasn't really something to write home about, being Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. I mean, I loved the gameplay. It had some really good ideas, but the rest with like promotion, graphics, roster, like all those things have been discussed multiple times online. And I mean, there were a bunch of reasons why there were no X-Men, and obviously not. Capcom has some blame as well, besides Marvel, because like Marvel really wanted to push their MCU, as in like the cinematic universe content. So that's why you have all these prominent movie characters on their side. But like, let's be fair, the budget on that game, according to inside information, was amount the same amount as like one season of Street Fighter V content. Like, obviously, grain of salt, but like that's not a whole lot. And like some of Capcom side roster choices were a bit like, eh. Like, did we really need like what is it, 2009 Spencer back again?
Yeah.
Probably there are people that like him, but like I wasn't too thrilled, and there were some other choices that I find somewhat questionable, and like the whole drama with like Lee before she got fixed, and they basically saying like, "Oh, no one will notice." Like those were inside information as well, so they did some fixing, but like by the time that game came out and with all like the bad PR, let's just say it didn't end up doing really well, which brings us to like what's next for Marvel vs. Capcom. And personally, I don't think like we're not going to see a new Marvel vs. Capcom in a while, because there's this rumor floating around in the internet that NRS, being NetherRealm Studios of like Mortal Kombat fame and such, are working on a Marvel property. So that's out of the window, which brings me actually to the actual point of this little podcast we have. It's like a Capcom internal crossover, like Marvel vs. Capcom style, but just with Capcom IPs.
Yep.
Which, in my opinion, they have more than enough to fill up a roster with.
Oh my god, do they ever? Like their library
For a lot of characters is like big, like you know, like Nintendo Smash Brothers big almost. Without all the guest characters, but yeah, you're right. This is something that a lot of people have been wanting for like after like especially after Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 stopped getting support. People were really hoping that there was going to be like a Capcom like ex Capcom game, like all the things that you could do, because then you own everything. You don't have to worry about licensing issues and such.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people don't seem to understand out there is that like Marvel, and this was before, like, you know, even like when the stuff got bought out by Marvel bought Disney, or sorry, Disney bought Marvel, they can use characters in their games that aren't in the movies. Like, the thing with it is, movie licensing works different than gaming, because there's a game called Contest of Champions for the mobile phones, and this was before like the big merger, so like they had things like, you know, like Daredevil, Iron Fist, they had X-Men, they had Doctor Doom, Fantastic Four, they had like those characters in this game with like, you know, Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, Hawkeye, all this stuff. Like, so you, for video games, they could use it, they just didn't do it because they want to focus on the MCU. And that was one of the big controversies of why Infinite failed like it did.
Yeah. Like, there was this other game, I think it was called like Marvel Omega or something. It was this like dungeon crawl Diablo-esque game.
Oh, yeah.
It had the Fantastic Four in there. Like, they were, I think it was free to play as well, but you could buy them. And retroactively, at one point, they just cut them from the game. Like, people who had bought them could still use them, but you could not like access them anymore for new players. And that's how serious like Marvel at that point was about their like the movie universe thing. They didn't want to push those characters anymore, which is just beyond weird to me. And that's what you said. Like, do a Capcom only thing. You don't have the trouble with like dealing with another company for like almost every patch you want to bring out, because I was disappointed how quickly like the whole Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and Ultimate Marvel 3 ended, because their license just ran out, and like you're just stuck with a certain game which you can't expand on anymore. Like, if you compare it to Street Fighter 5, like there's also a thing of too long to have support for a game, but like that game launched as a glorified what is it called, early access game. Let's be
Yep.
honest.
Oh yeah.
But like they did tons of things with it, and they stuck with it, which I have to applaud them for that. And it's a lot better than it was 5 years ago. I mean, you never get the bad taste out of some people's mouths, but like it's in way better state than it was back then. And I'm just like, yeah, do your own crossover. Like you have tons of characters, and like it could do really well, especially if you make some good choices in terms of like design and especially roster as well. I mean, yeah, you're not gonna have like your infamous Marvel characters like your Magneto and Wolverine and your Iron Man, which is all like big budget names, but they have like very recognizable characters they can use as well.
It's true. They do. I don't know. It just it was just one big mess what they did with those games, and the fact that like they gave up on Infinite as quick as they did when it was data mined that there was proof that like Doctor Doom and like mutants were coming to the game. It's just like, are you serious? And like it didn't even get a chance at Evo. Like if it had gotten its chance at Evo, we would have seen a completely different game. I think that they would have just been like, oh wow, people are really loving this, and like, oh my god, our sales. And the thing of it is, sales for that game are still happening. People are actually still buying that game, surprisingly, because tournament, like, well, before the pandemic, tournament, what do you call it there? What's the word I'm looking for? Tournament turnouts for that game are still really high. Like those characters that they created for the game that were new, and some of the ones that were even the older ones were still pretty hyped to play. So, I really wish that they would, like, don't look at, like, Infinite as a failure, but more so just a small mistake that they can fix.
They can still learn from that. Like, there was still a rise in, like, the community that plays that game. Because, like, the netcode's actually pretty good for that game. And, like, especially with COVID, like, they've been doing online tournaments, and if you search on YouTube, you're going to find some stuff. Like, obviously it doesn't look as pretty as it should be, but the gameplay is really, really fun, and it's just that game's just in a tough spot to begin with. But like you said, they should learn from it and pick up the good ideas and leave some of the bad in there, because the gameplay was really refreshing, I have to say. Like it felt so fun. Like it has this free flow thing. Obviously, there were some bad sides to that as well, with being like you could make everything safe basically by tagging in your next character. But I mean, Marvel 3 had some serious issues as well.
Oh god,
and I'm not gonna even touch on Marvel 2, because like that game only has like 7 viable characters on a high level. But I mean,
we don't talk badly about MVC2 in this house here. It's like that SpongeBob thing, like the Texas thing. It's like, you can't say nothing bad about Marvel 2. You mean we can't say anything bad about dumb old Marvel 2? No, you can't!
Fair enough. As long as you pick a top tier, then you'll be fine.
Well, it's not even just that. Like, the thing was, something happened with Marvel 2, and I don't know when exactly this began, but like, at one point, people realized you could play more than just Magnetos and Sentinels and Storms and Cables and stuff. People start, like, using Captain Commando's assist. People start using Iron Man stuff. Like, and then, like, people would hold tournaments where you can only use low-tier characters. So people...
Which are the most fun to watch, actually.
It is, like, because you're not seeing the same mirror match over and over and over. Like, you're seeing all these new things come out. And that's what I really loved about Marvel. And I remember when... Twitch Rivals had that Marvel vs. Capcom 3 thing that Max was hosting, and like you didn't just see Virgils and Morgans and Sentinels or Zeros. Like I saw somebody using MODOK, and I'm like, this dude's using MODOK pretty good. Like there was a lot of characters that people were using. I didn't see a lot of Weskers, unfortunately, but
which is fine. He needs to be elusive, but like you said, like there was that one Evo where a Modok player did really well, and like the thing is with like obviously you see tons of, if you watch some tournaments, like you see tons of Virgils and Doctor Doom and Morgan to a lesser extent, but still very effective, and Zero May Cry, just to sum up an entire roster of characters.
Yeah.
But like some other characters stay like unexplored, because if you're watching and you're struggling with the character you like, and you're just gonna be like, screw it, I'm just gonna play Virgil as well because he gives me results. Not hate on Virgil that much, but like we understand how he gets hated because of that game.
Yeah, then
But
I could just see you like cosplaying as your in your Virgil outfit, just walking around with sunglasses, just being like, "Deal with it."
but like so many characters are staying like unexplored because seemingly Jill Valentine had some stuff in the vanilla version Marvel Free that like was never explored and untapped according to Seth Gillian.
Yep.
So, but like that's the downside, and I feel in Marvel Infinite a lot more characters were viable because of the new free flow thing.
Yep.
Because like obviously they, for example, they gave Nemesis some buffs, but he was like way more like productive in terms of damage and things, because you could tag in and out and like change up your mix-ups and combos with the touch of a button. Than he was in Marvel Free, where he was like, I guess low tier. I guess he had damage, but that was everything set for him because he didn't have much like proper armored moves and normals.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like like they did a lot right with Infinite, but there was still a lot wrong with it that doomed it. And now, I mean, just for like, you know, you gotta look at like what Street Fighter V is doing. Street Fighter V has turned around completely. Like the people that are in charge of it now, they clearly have an understanding of what fans really enjoy. Like Seth was supposed to be the last character, and I guess that the test runs for Street Fighter 6 were horrendous. Like people hated it, so that's why they gave us a whole new season. That's why we got Dan, who's fun as hell in that game. Like I actually really love playing as. I mean, I love playing as him in Ultimate, but
they put a lot of like thought into how he functions. Like he's still a Joe character, but like they made him fun to play in like his own little way. And like so far the characters have been like very intricate and just thought out, and especially with the presentations they do. I have to give Capcom props with like overall with like all their I always call them the Capcom Directs, just picking off Nintendo things, but like with Resi, Monster Hunter, and like Street Fighter, like they go out of the way to make like these YouTube videos and inform people about like their game and how it is progressing. And especially with Street Fighter 5, like you said, like you get these like just showing things that they've been doing, and that's really great. So they're actually learning stuff.
yeah, no, they have learned. I mean, the team that's just in it now, they just get it. And you know, I mean, we're getting we still got a mystery character coming in, which if it ends up being like Terry Bogard or anything, I'm just gonna be like, man, I thought like we're gonna call him the king of crossovers, because that's what he is. He's in so much, and it's perfect. And I really feel he would fit.
Yeah, definitely. Like I'm not having too high expectations, because we all know the Capri situation back then with Ultra Street Fighter 4, which was their mistake, because they initially revealed like, oh, here's these Street Fighter characters from Street Fighter Cross Tekken, and they're gonna be here because they just wanted to salvage, because that game kind of like bombed because of other reasons. But then it was like, oh, there's one more character, and they dragged it over like a year, and then finally they revealed it, and they constantly said it's like, oh, it's a character that's never been playable again, a Street Fighter character in this universe and games, and then it ended up being a literal Kami clone. And don't get me wrong, I actually loved the Capri as a character, as a playable character as well. But that was not the thing that people wanted at that point in time. Definitely not.
Yeah, definitely not. No.
So
But
we'll see.
yeah, we'll definitely see.
So like, we're pretty much Capcom right now has been on fire these last couple of years with things like Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 2 remake. Despite the fact that it happened with Resident Evil 3 remake, it still sold really well. And then you got obviously Village is selling very well. Monster Hunter World did friggin' phenomenal. Street Fighter 5 eventually dug itself out of the hole that it was in, and we got a new Mega Man game.
Good sales now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Street Fighter 5 actually has good sales, like 7-ish million or something.
Yeah, it took
like,
a while, but
yeah, the expansion of like Monster Hunter World Iceborne like sold really well as well. I think it's in their top 10 now.
and I believe Rise is doing pretty decent as well.
Yeah, definitely. And like that, like comparing to, let's say, well, not 10 years ago, like a year or 5-6 ago, like they kind of turned themselves around, because they were like in dire straits like around 6 years ago, because that's why they had to get Sony to fund development of Street Fighter 5 basically, because they were getting close to going bankrupt. Which was, it's kind of like ridiculous now that you think about it, but like they really turned themselves around. So I'm just like, now could be the time to just like pick up something like a Capcom crossover project where you can just basically celebrate all your IPs, and just like it would appeal to multiple people, because like a game like Marvel versus Capcom 2, like tons of people love that game just because it has so many characters, even people who don't like to play fighting games. Like obviously the comic characters have some appeal to it as well, but like even if you have, like with Marvel 3, you had like Resident Evil characters and Devil May Cry characters and such, like people were interested in that as well, even if it's just like to peek over the fence, like, oh, Jill Valentine's in that game. That's interesting. I'm just going to check it out for a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, they've done so much with the crossovers, and I guess for like the crossover game we're talking about, you said you had a list of characters that you wanted to see, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I actually did some like semi-roster building, like trying to stay like a little bit realistic, because if I make my own wish list, then it's going to be a very villain-heavy list, and
that's so totally fine.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, like, oh yeah, dude, like lay it on us. Let's hear what some of them are.
I will let you know. But basically, first I was going to gravitate like their big four main core franchises, being
yes.
Obviously, I'm just going to start with the fighting game regular, being Street Fighter, because you can't have a fighting game crossover in Capcom terms without Street Fighter characters. I mean, that would be ridiculous. It would be, wake me up when that happens, because then I know the world has ended. But I kind of like, for like a base roster, I think, because you don't have Marvel anymore now. So like compared to like Marvel 3, you had I think 4 Street Fighter characters. So I would kind of like deviate in between, like just being like base roster-esque between like 4 to 6 characters of a franchise, depending on the popularity of the franchise. And obviously you're gonna have Ryu and Chun-Li to begin with. I mean, you can't get around that, and there's been this discussion of like, are Street Fighter characters viable in a game like that? Because there are characters that can fly and shoot lasers out of their eyes, and there comes ordinary karate dude, which they always have to buff a bit. But I mean, you gotta have him in there. So, and Chun-Li as well. I mean, they're both in Power Rangers now, so maybe they can bring their suit and be a bit more powerful. Another character which is kind of like Clone Ash, but he's very popular. You can't get around him either. Would be Akuma, because he's Akuma, and in terms of power levels with other characters, like lore wise, he makes sense. I would bring back Crimson Viper as well, because she kind of already played like a Marvel character in Street Fighter 4. She had her own rules, but like she was stuck in a Street Fighter game, and she worked quite well in Marvel 3.
Yep.
And I would. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I agree, because like, she kind of got the shaft not being in Street Fighter 5, even though she was in a couple of the stories.
Yeah, she was like in most stories, and she's still of multiple characters. She's still not in the game, which is weird to me. But oh well. And I would definitely bring back M. Bison.
Of course.
Because he's one of those characters in terms of like, if you look at lore, he's one of those characters who could like stand up against like Monster Hunter monsters or your Darkstalkers, and like he could battle Marvel characters as well back in the day.
It's very true.
And just make him I would make him a bit more like revamped slightly towards just like Street Fighter moveset, so he's a bit more speedier, but still retain some of the other things, and give him his like. Do you remember that move he had in Capcom vs SNK where he had like the double punch?
Yep.
Like they replaced his Psycho Crusher for a bit, but then they brought it back. But give him that as well, so he can have like combo extenders with like wall bounce and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And besides that, with Street Fighter, I'll touch up something else later, because I'm gonna touch upon a little thing later. The Echo characters in Smash.
Oh, okay.
And you have fan favorites, and you could still do them like having not like waste the character slot, as some people would call it, but still like give them an own voice actor, some slightly different moves, but you just use the thing as a base, and then you can expand more upon on a roster. Because I actually found it very smart in Smash, having like the Echo fighters, like you have Samus and Dark Samus, even though like, they don't differentiate that much on like terms of moves, but like they have different frame data and effects, so that would work, because it would just be a good idea, and Capcom would probably call EX characters or something.
That'd be kind of cool.
But
actually.
anyway, not to be confused with Skullomania and Friends.
Yes.
But moving on with, do you have anyone in terms of Street Fighter that you would have like the opinion on? It's like that character needs to be in the game.
Well, I mean, you did say Bison, because I feel that Bison was kind of left, like, I feel like he was left out of a lot of crossover stuff at times, or maybe I'm just like, maybe I'm not thinking right, but I think he could have been in a lot more when he wasn't. But I feel that Guile definitely needs to be in them. I think that you have to, because he kind of got the shaft early on from Versus games, because he didn't appear in a Versus game until MVC2. It was all Charlie at first.
Yeah, and that was basically the reason. Oh, well, we're chucking all our sprite work in one game, so I guess Guile can come as well. That was basically the excuse.
Yeah, exactly.
And, like, he is a very iconic character.
Definitely. Yeah, especially now more than ever, because during Street Fighter V, he's been like top tier, and Daigo was playing him and shit. Like, he's a really good character now, because they gave him more than 2 moves finally. And I really think But I mean, well, yeah, I mean, like he does. He's got way more, because like before it was just Sonic Boom and Flash Kick. Now he's got more than that.
It's the baby booms.
Yes.
Like the only thing I gripe with Gao is like he's a charge character. Like normally Bison is as well, but for example in Marvel 2 they changed all his moves into like except his head press to like what is it? Command moves like quadricycle and half circle motions. So, but I mean, they could make him work, especially if you make him a bit more like crazier, as when like he has his V skill being Guile with like where he can buff his own Sonic Boom and make it more effective. It's called Sonic Frost or something. And maybe Cammy as well, because she's like popular and she's quite speedy, so she could feel like a niche, and she was quite fun to use in Marvel 2, actually.
Yeah, she was. She was fun. And Street Fighter 4, she had a lot of love there. Like, she was top tier for a while, or at least a lot of people were using her, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly. But yeah, like, Guile is definitely one that I would want to see. I would love to see Dudley and see how he would do, because I always loved the character, and I was sad that they didn't put him in Street Fighter 5. I know, like, we technically have, like, Balrog and Ed, they're the two boxers, so I understand that. Let's see. I wouldn't mind them using... who's I just had it in my brain too. Balrog. I would actually love to see like Balrog and Dudley. I know it's not going to happen, but both might be boxers, but they're both very different styles of fighting. So
Oh, definitely.
I think that would be
They
a really
like,
cool thing.
Allrock does not play like Dudley at all. I mean, they both punch really hard, but like Dudley is like this character with finesse and style, and Allrock is just like raw power and like sluggish, but like he's powerful, so he makes it up.
Say goodnight, chump!
Like the thing is, like I never like I always have a hard time to see like certain Street Fighter characters how they would function in like a crossover crazy game with like when you compare them to like characters who like shoot guns and shit. But I mean, if they just balance it out correctly, it could work.
Yeah, it can.
I'm just gonna move on to the next franchise,
for it,
being
yeah.
Resident Evil,
Mm-hmm.
because you know that was going to happen. Slightly personal touch here, but obviously they need to bring back Wesker.
That they do. Oh yeah.
It's like just like being like dumbstruck, like why is he not in Infinite? And I guess there were reasons for it, but like he just needs to come back because he was a very fun character to play, and he's like basically maybe Capcom's most popular villain at this time. Because if you look at Tekken, like at launch, you had Nurkiganti as well, but I mean he's very popular, and I think Capcom can see that they kind of made a mistake when they killed him off. I mean he's been in tons of crossovers, so bring him back. Another one on the list would definitely be Jill. Now I don't know which version, because I'll touch upon that later. I might say bring her back like with her still like in a BSAA gear, not the battle suit, because you know that's done by now, but still have her a bit in that move set, because I have a character which could fill the summoner role a lot better, but we'll get into that later. Since like technically I would say, by the way, just bring back all the characters from Ultimate Marvel 3, because you have those resources already lying around, and just brush them up a bit. I wouldn't mind that, to be honest. Chris and Nemesis.
Yeah, I can see those being in there.
I
They
can
kind of need to be. They deserve to be there.
And I'll get back on Leon, because I know I'll get flack if I don't talk about him, but like you're not gonna be able to differentiate Leon from Chris that much, because they both used a lot of guns and things, and like I mean it could be, but I'll get into that later. As in terms of newcomers, you can feel her coming, just Grace already. The Lady Dimitrescu. Why, you would say? Let's just face it. If you put her on the cover of the game, she will shift units for you.
This is true.
Like, I'm not 100% sure how she would work, because when I was thinking of this stuff, Village wasn't released yet, but like now I've seen some of her, what she does, and she basically claws a lot, but she would basically be a big body character to begin. Let's face it, because what is she, like 9 feet or something? And just give her like claw swipes and maybe command throws as well, because she's very fond of grabbing you.
Yeah, like slam you into the ground repeatedly and shit like that for a grab move. Like that would be interesting.
Yeah, and maybe have some like kind of like Captain Commando hat, like just some assist summon so she can summon some of the daughters or something. I mean,
Ooh, that'd be
there's
good.
enough to work with to give her a move set. No, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, I'm just saying. I agree that's a damn good idea.
Yeah, because it would be a missed opportunity not to include her, but because I think if like 3 years from now, when people look back at Village, like the Lady D is still going to be the thing people remember. I mean, it's just going to be a missed opportunity if you don't do anything with that. And besides that, I'm not entirely sure who could be added for Resi. Like maybe Ada Wong, but there's already like characters with like zip lines and shit. So I don't know how he would differentiate her too much. But then my question is to you: what do you like? Do you agree, or do you have something to add in? Or
Well, I agree with like your choice. I think they're good choices. I think Claire could be added in. Um,
mm-hmm.
I think she'd be a really good character because she could have different guns from how like Chris has them and Jill has them. Like, she could have like because she uses a knife. She got trained by
Mm-hmm.
Chris, so like she could have like knife combos, everything, right?
Yeah.
Like kind of like Cody from Street Fighter. I could pull out a knife. You could
Yeah.
do that. You can give her that option when she takes enough damage or something, and she can do that.
Oh, it
Or
could be one of those like do you know the term install hyper? Like obviously supers are called hyper in Marvel games,
yeah,
but like that could be something for her, being more close combat and like having a bit more range and more speedy and being able to combo. That's actually not a bad idea at all.
yeah. See that would work out really well, and like she could have like her grenade launcher from, Resident Evil Code Veronica. She could have her bow gun as well as that as well. She could do that. Her like one of her hyper combos could literally be her riding a bike, like kind of like Ghost Rider, and everything. She could do something like that and like backflip off of it and shoot it with her grenade launcher, and like in the hyper combo, and it blows up. You could do so much with the character of Claire. I wouldn't mind seeing Barry in it too. I think that would be a pretty interesting character to see and see how he was. But again, it'd be like more, yeah, it'd be a lot of guns. So like you'd have to make him. He'd be a slower character. I say that he can.
Yeah.
I could say that he has some super armor because he's a bulky dude. You could give him
Yeah.
some super armor, and you can have him do like just crazy fun stupid shit. And I think if there was another character to add too, I think I would actually add maybe like a tyrant or something, like maybe from the first game, or maybe like Mr. X or something like that, or maybe even William Birkin. And he kind of has a, think of it like kind of like Hishenko, how she's got like, or Morgan when she does the, or Zero when they do those multi splits, like the mirror images and stuff, or the after image. You could do that for Birkin, and it's kind of like how it worked for Ryu in Marvel 1, where he can transform to Ken or Akuma. You do that for Birkin. Yeah, you do that for Birkin, but it's various different forms that he takes for like a short like a short like couple of seconds, or however long you're gonna have the meter last. Like 2 minutes. Like,
it's a timer thing.
Yeah,
with those other characters as well.
Yeah, like he
They
just
have a lot of.
yeah, like his base form is just him with the eyeball and he's holding the pipe, and that's how he uses to attack. Like the pipe is like one of his main weapons and shit. Like he can transform into like the four-armed version and everything. Like there could be like so many different things you could do with a tyrant, especially that of William Birkin, who's an ever-evolving character. Like literally, he just keeps changing throughout the whole game.
Yeah, they could like just you need so many levels of super bar to change, and then it could be like permanent maybe, because like kind of like Frank West did with his like he had an entirely different system, but he could level up and he would still keep like his moves would change basically. So yeah, that's definitely an idea to look into, because like Resi 2 remake is like sold very well, so he's recognizable face. And like you said, I'm just gonna touch upon it since we're on Resi, because like someone like Leon or Hunk even, or maybe even like you say Barry could be like an Echo character with like based on Chris, so basically just a glorified reskin. So you could still have those characters with voice actors. And I'm just gonna touch upon the ones I had for Street Fighter, because obviously Ken is a fairly popular character as well. And you could that could just be a glorified Ryu reskin. Just give him some flames on his uppercuts and like change a couple of super moves and some key moves, and then you're just good to go.
It's true. Actually,
And
now that you mentioned that, I totally forgot about this. There is a mod for Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 in the PC where you can play as Ken, and they gave him some stupid stuff, and it is awesome. Like he is stupid fun. I haven't done the mod, but I just watched the videos, and I'm like, this shit is amazing. Like he is like this. Why was he not in this originally? Which is always one of the things that I felt weird that Ken was left out.
yeah, I mean, the weird thing is like, which to me was the fact. Okay, you have Ryu and Ryu and Akuma in that game, which are like, okay, they function differently, but if you look at them on paper, they fireball, uppercut, hurricane kick. And like I can understand why they didn't do Ken, because they didn't want to have too many similar characters. But if you do something like this, then you can solve the problem immediately. Heck, even sell those Echo things as like premium DLC. That Capcom likes money. Let's be honest, they're still a business. But like people who would want a character like that would still buy it, and you won't have people complaining for like the base games like, oh well, you have Ryu and Ken and I would have wanted character A or B. So I think that would please more people than it would upset them, if I'm honest. But we shall see. This is obviously just what is it called? Once again, I'm still Dutch. But we're just like spewing ideas here. So let's see, where was I?
You'd done Street Fighter. You'd done Resident Evil.
Yeah. Now I would go to the next one in the big four. We'll get the smaller ones in a bit. I haven't forgotten. No worries. Devil May Cry. I know you like this franchise a lot.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, you're going to bring back Dante. That's a no-brainer. You're going to bring back Virgil. Maybe some slight nerves. Maybe. Just maybe. just maybe. Bring back Trish as well. Definitely. Because I found her very fun to use in Marvel 3. I would say bring along Lady as well. Because she's overdue.
Oh, yeah.
And she could probably be more like of a zoning character because she has like Kalyan, I think it's called.
Kalyan,
bazooka, with the knife on it, and she could maybe slightly zip around as well. I mean, she has like smaller guns, and she definitely fits the bill for a zoning character in terms of like her arsenals and thing. And like the Devil May Cry characters are less limited when you compare them to Resident Evil because they use guns. They do as well, but they're a bit more over the top. So she can like even spin around with her Kalyan and with the blade on it to do some like crazy shit.
Oh yeah.
I would definitely wheel in V, and I would make him a puppet character. Do you know the premise of that?
No.
I'll explain. Lore-wise, V isn't very strong.
Well, yeah,
because he's weak. He's basically dying. Let's just say that, and he has like this contract with his helpers being Griffin, Shadow, and Nightmare. And let me see which character is the best comparable. Well, not entirely, but you know Manat from Street Fighter V.
Oh yeah.
He is like this little orb. And you can set it out, and they're like way more intricate versions of those characters. Like, I'm not too familiar with Blaze Blue, but there's this character with a doll and whatever. But like, you can see it like that because she's a very limited version of a puppet character. But she controls a thing, put it on the field, and they're both separated and can still activate it. So I would kind of like have V by default have Shadow and Griffin, so he could like. You kind of technically control multiple characters at the same time. So it's like, it's this hard character to use, but like difficult to use. But if you master him, you'll be more effective. So you could have like V only going in for some certain hit confirms, but you still have like the bird and the panther doing the dirty work for you, and leave Nightmare for the more like super move as shit. But I think he would like you don't really have a puppet character in these kinds of games yet. I mean, it would be hard to implement and control because these games go crazy, but it would be very unique. And I think V's fairly popular.
Oh yeah, he is. Oh, he is. He's a character a lot of people love. I remember when 2019 when Devil May Cry 5 came out, I was at Kineticon where all four of the Devil May Cry actors were there, and I was kind of worried. I was like, man, like I hope Brian like gets V's actor gets some people because like he's new and stuff like that. I really hope he does. And his line was pretty good. He had a lot of people coming to him and stuff like that. I mean, like Johnny Young Bosch had like the biggest line because other than Nero, he's like every other voice in anime.
He does a lot of things.
Yeah, but like his was like freaking huge. But yeah, like but Brian did get a lot of people, and even a girl, she gave him V's cane. She made the cane, and like I saw it like when like I went over to talk to him because I had interviewed him like a few months prior, so he remembered me from Row and stuff. So yeah, like it was amazing. It was just like I saw the cane. I was like, dude, this is like screen accurate. She did amazing. He's like, I know, it's so good.
No, that's good because he deserves like attention because he did a good job with voice acting.
Oh yeah,
and, like it's just a shame that the character already dissolved back into Virgil. I mean, this is not spoiler territory anymore. And like he would be like one of those characters that's like just frail, like the infamous glass cannon, but like very interesting to use and like setups and combos for days. And I would also, since we're at it, like you need to throw in Nero by now because he's becoming the new like protagonist.
Yeah.
Only like I'm not sure how to let him play because pre-Devil May Cry I would just make him a semi-ranged grappler because of like his arm and have some sword and gunplay in there. But now like the roof's gone off the place because he has so many different arms. I mean, he can ride on one of his own arms through the air. So, like, there's a lot of craziness to go into there, and I would just leave it up to Capcom to think of something because there's enough to work with from that on that department. And I think like Devil May Cry would deserve a couple of more reps than just the typical like 2 or 3 because those characters could be very interesting in a fighting game, especially V. Definitely.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
And like
I feel the same way. I actually feel the same way because like I loved V as a character, and he would have to be a glass cannon and everything because like he's pretty much dying, so you'd have to like use like his like guys as like shields, or what you could do is you could make it so V can't get chip damaged as bad as other people or something like that. Like he can like put up like a barrier around him and like with a hyper combo. And like he gets to like survive or whatever it is, like he gets to like not take chip damage for 30 seconds or whatever, something like that. I think that could like play into it.
Yeah, like I mean the possibilities with him are like almost endless if I'm honest.
It's true.
And like I always had like besides that I'm like kind of done with the Devil May Cry roster for this bit, but I always for years I had the thought like they should put Phantom in. I know he's just a bit too big, but it would just. I love the fact that Marvel versus Capcom games always had these like. You had lots of humanoid characters, but you always also had like these oddball characters like Amy as a dog or MODOK as a big floating head, and it was like a lava spider would just be cool in a game like that. But I'm not sure how he would function to begin with. But I just have to give like a shout out to Phantom.
Yeah. So all right, so yeah, like I mean, like no, I'm in the same boat as you are, dude. Like I think we all want the same characters. That are in it. So yeah, I mean, as far as Devil May Cry goes, I think that's not asking a lot because his. Some like Street Fighter had in Ultimate they had what Ryu, Chun-Li, Akuma, and
Viper.
Yeah,
4 characters.
Yeah, and Darkstalkers had 3 in UMVC3. They had Hishenko, Felicia, and Morgan. So like that's like it's not out of the realm of possibility to add like 4 characters from one franchise into a fighting game.
No, definitely not. Especially if it's only Capcom, because then you basically double the slots because. you don't have the Marvel side anymore. You could still wheel in
right.
all your existing characters. You could just expand on it. Moving away from Devil May Cry, let's go to the other. Technically, maybe their biggest franchise these days because it sells hotcakes, especially in Japan. Being Monster Hunter.
Yep.
Bring back the female hunter from Marvel Infinite because that character was fun to use.
I was shocked by that. I didn't think she was going to be as fun as she was.
Me too. And like, I would say like you have a female hunter, so have a male hunter as well with like either having like the weapons and things that she doesn't use, like having switch axe and like not bow, yes, bow gun. But he could also have some like influence of Monster Hunter Rise to be like cross promotion, which Capcom loves. Just give him some like maybe he can ride his doggy or something, or give him some wire buck movement.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't have like a female hunter and not have a male hunter. And the next territory was a bit more iffy because, like, I'll touch upon the monsters in a bit. The third one I had is like, speaking of like having these more like off the wall characters, put in a Palico.
Oh yeah.
Like, you have like this small, quick, and nimble character. Not to Surfbot levels of silliness because he didn't do any damage, but like, and maybe built him around like lots of support moves designed to like buff his fellow team members or debuff the opponent, and maybe put some traps like just stealing away some of Rocket Raccoon's thunder, which doesn't matter because he's not there anymore, but more on that turf because Palicos are popular, and like it would give another Monster Hunter representative in the game, and it could work pretty nifty if I'm honest, if you would build it around that, because he's not going to be this character that hits you really hard, but just like swift and nimble and annoying basically. And the problem with Monster Hunter monsters is, moving on, I mean, most of them are just way too big. I mean, you have Rathalos and Smash, which is just this assist trophy. And even though I would love to see a Nergigante as a playable character, that's just going to work because you would have to scale him down. So I was just looking more towards like the smaller monsters. And I think, I don't know how familiar you are with Monster Hunter.
Not extremely
you
familiar.
Hmm?
Not extremely familiar, unfortunately.
Okay.
I suck at those games. I like them, I'm just terrible at
fine.
them.
There's this like monster called Kuluyaku, which is basically this. It looks like it steals eggs, and it looks like this raptor bird. And he's like not super huge. He's kind of like, how would I compare it for someone who doesn't like? I think he would just like, you could ride him as a human, basically. He's a small horse-sized, kind of like horse-sized-esque.
Yeah.
And he could be like, because he's actually quite popular, and he can do things like, besides picking up eggs and shit, he can pick up a rock and whack you with it and stuff like that. So he could have like these install supers where I'll pick up a rock so I can like block better, maybe chip damage and stuff like that, which you said with V, and just have him have an egg hyper where he can like heal and buff himself. But he would be like one of the monsters that could work, like having more of those zany characters, but still not being huge, as in like, oh yeah, I'm sure you know Tatsunoko versus Capcom, where you had like the really huge characters with permanent hyper armor and stuff.
Yep.
I mean, the idea was fun, but like in execution, it didn't work that well. If I'm honest, like I actually like the Lost Planet robot a lot, the PTX, but like you couldn't block, so it was a bit like somewhat of a gripe. Like it changed the game a lot, and yeah, that's what I would put in for Monster Hunter, technically.
I could get behind that, like, some Monster Hunter, like hunters, and a monster that's like small in stature but can do a lot of things. And I think honestly the Palico would be a great thing because everybody fucking loves Palicos. And I remember like when the Palico came to Teppen and like Nero kind of adopted him because like the village got wiped out. So like Nero and Nico
yeah.
like took care of him and stuff like that. Like, and then like he was in like all these crossover cards. So like Nevin's got like, you know, Nero's got Nevin in his arms and the Palico's on his head like,
Yeah.
no, 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 no.
No, it's like, Nero, are you listening to me?
Yeah, like I think that, you know, given like what like Servbot or like, you know, Rocket Raccoon had done in past Marvel games, it's not out of the realm of possibility that you could have a Palico do all this cool stuff.
No, definitely not.
So yeah, no, good choices on that, dude.
Speaking of Nevin, that could maybe be a character, but I don't know. She would be like a runner-up in Devil May Cry-esque thing, but that's up to Capcom. Now let's go to one of our more beloved spooky creatures, being the Darkstalkers.
Yep.
You can guess the first character I have here because we're not going to get around her. It's impossible.
The queen of crossovers, ladies and gentlemen.
The queen of crossovers, Morrigan. I would bring back Jeddah as well because he was like kind of surprise pick for Infinite. He was one of like I wouldn't call him headliner, but a lot of people were excited to see him.
Yeah, people were. I think people were actually shocked that like they acknowledged more Darkstalkers characters.
Yeah, definitely. I would bring back Felicia as well. I don't know if she would still work in terms of esports, but we will see. In terms of like, because quick side note, Marvel games always have like these big ass bosses with Apocalypse and Galactus, and I was thinking like, well, if you need an arcade mode, Capcom, take notes. Don't make the same mistake again like Street Fighter V. I mean, you need a boss character, and I was thinking with like Capcom characters, I mean, you could have a Monster Hunter sub-boss, like a big monster, but that's not like the threat for everyone. So I would wheel in Pyron as the boss character because he can be like this giant thing.
Oh yeah.
And have him do. I know I love Pyron, but still, and have him do double duty, having like a regular sized version which you can play as well, and have like this huge version where he just tries to consume the planet and have this giant boss. I kind of like, I want to see Dimitri as well, but I don't know if they can implement the Midnight Bliss in so many character things, because you can't have Dimitri Maximoff without Midnight Bliss.
That's true. That's very true.
And yeah, I'm just gonna keep it small in terms of Darkstalkers. I mean, there are some others as well, but it's a more niche franchise. Like, I would say, like, maybe bring Shenko back because she's already existing, and Sebel Zarek, like Lord Raptor.
Oh,
So insane! Like,
my buddy has been asking
like,
for Lord Raptor for fucking years. Like, that's his favorite Darkstalkers character. He has literally been asking for him in so many like games.
Like, I have to say, like, I already had, like, with those four already like stopped, but like Anna Karis was fun in Marvel too as well. Like, they adapt better to like a Marvel style game because these characters are already very weird and over the top to begin with. So there's always room for DLC. I don't know if you have any Darkstalkers that you're like must have.
Oh yeah,
must have in this roster.
Honestly, like I would actually really like to see Victor. I would like to see how he would play in this because I feel like he would be like kind of a Juggernaut type character. I think he'd be really cool to have in there. He's always been like one of my favorites to use in the games. But if there's anything, I definitely say John Talbane has to be in this damn game. Like, you would have to have him in there.
I know he has a lot of fans. Like, he wouldn't be he's not my favorite or something. I don't hate him, but I see a lot of like requests for years now that he needs to be in a game like that he gets like shafted a lot of the time, because when it comes to Darkstalkers, like, usually females pop in, and if there's a male in there, well, you can rub your hands if it's one, then you're lucky.
Yeah, exactly. And I
Yeah.
feel that like the last character I would choose, I'd like to see Donovan. I would like to see Donovan in there if possible,
Okay.
because he's essential.
Interesting.
He's essential to Darkstalkers, and I feel
He's
that
essential to the story, yes.
yeah, and I feel he's another character that's just kind of like been forgotten about from time. Because like that's one of the things when you're building something like a Marvel versus Capcom game or just a versus game in general, you don't want just popular characters. You want characters that are so far out of left field that you're kind of like, huh, I actually like this idea. One of the best things I always call it the Ness effect. If like when Ness was added to the original Super Smash Brothers, nobody knew who he was because nobody had played
I
Earthbound.
don't.
Well, I had rented
Well,
Earthbound a lot as a kid, and my buddy had owned it too. So we played a lot of it throughout like the summers and shit like that. And like whenever like we had time off, like school vacations and stuff, we would play Earthbound, and it was just something that so like when I saw Ness as like a character that's unlockable, I'm like, what? And then like everybody's like, well, who's Ness? And I'm like, I would tell them, and then like people really love the character. So I feel that Donovan could kind of do the same thing. A lot of people would just be like, you know, you got this really cool werewolf character. Then you got this guy called Donovan with this massive sword, and you know, you got a guy who's on fire, and you got an actual Frankenstein. Like it might get people like ideas like in their head to like go and play these old games because technically you still can.
Yeah, you can. And like the thing is, you could still even add in like Anita is going to be around him anyway.
Yep.
Meaning Donovan, so she could have like maybe some moves as well. Who knows? And like it would also be a way to create some more interest for these like forgotten characters. With like what you said, like you need some like unfamiliar characters to like spice up things for flavor. Because if you're only gonna have like the popular characters and the ones you know that are going to be there, like Ryu, Chun-Li, Morgan, then it gets stale as well because people are like, oh yeah, sure, you have those characters which I've played tons of times before, but you need to spice it up a bit. So I agree on that. Now I'm going to move on to probably the last of the franchises I have. I have some other things which are like more smaller things, but I know you like this franchise as well, being the Mega Man X. I'm omitting the classic Mega Man. I know, I'm sorry, but like I'm getting this vibe from Tekken that they're like kind of like, and with the last Marvel games as well, that they're kind of like gravitating towards the Mega Man X universe, which I kind of prefer, but it's my opinion.
Oh yeah, no, I'm a huge fan of the X series more than I am the OG. I love the OG series. Don't get me wrong, but the X series was a lot darker and it was really awesome.
Yeah. Obviously, you can't have a crossover game with Zero. You know he's going to be top tier.
Yeah, he's gonna be top tier
because he doesn't know what he's fighting for, so that's why he's top tier. Bring back X as well. I would revamp his moveset a bit because if I'm really honest, I found his moveset in Infinite a bit lackluster. Like they didn't try that much. Like with all the material you can delve from with X, and then you came up with that and was just a bit like, okay, I guess.
I feel the same way. It kind of felt like
Yeah.
he was just it feels like I was almost playing the Mega Man from Smash Brothers in many ways. Very lackluster.
Yeah. So they really need to spice him up a bit. Like there's enough to pull from. That's not a problem. But like I'm not the biggest fan of that character. But even I was like, well, you kind of done him dirty, Capcom, because he can do so much more.
Yeah. Think about like all the armors that he gets throughout the years. You could do the install supers and shit like that for like a limited time.
Definitely.
Like, you know, the Gaia armor gives him super armor or anything, you know. You could do something like that. The Falcon armor can cause him to like fly, and he can do an 8-way dash.
Definitely. Like the potential is endless.
Oh yeah.
You don't know probably. I've been like back when you still have SRK, Shuriken.com, the forums.
Oh, I remember
was a moderator there. Yeah. And I have basically propaganded for years there to have Sigma in a crossover game. Like even with their like the popularity poll I organized back in then. And I was so pleased to see Sigma in Marvel Infinite.
Oh my
It had
god,
to be
right?
that game that died. Yeah. So I need him back as well. He must be in. And I saw your voice acting skit on YouTube, by the way. I have to shout that out.
Oh, when I did the when I did his voice, yeah, like I
Yeah.
lost the file for his RE4 voice and everything because I was doing all those like tremble with terror, you are finished. Or it's just like, are you ready for round 2? Like I loved his voice. Like he was like so epic in that game, and they kind of kept that with
Yeah.
Infinite. I feel because Chris, who voices him, I can't pronounce the last name. I actually got his autograph coming because I did like one of the like the where they sign things online like Streamerly, and Chris was doing it, and I was like, okay, you know what? This guy might not go to cons that are around me, so you know what? This might be my only chance to get his voice acting, his act for Sigma. So I did, and I'm still waiting for it. It's on its way. But yeah, Sigma was a great.
Get it.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it. If I don't, I'm gonna raise hell. But
Oh no, it's fine.
but no, Sigma was such a good character, and he literally became my best character with Venom. Like I was shocked. I did not think that those two characters would become my best characters.
I have to give the voice actor props because like he was really into his character. You could tell.
Oh
Like,
my god!
I'm not
yeah.
going. If I compare to what's her name again, Gamora, cough cough. She
Yeah.
didn't feel like working that day. Slice and dice, stuff like that. But like the dude who did Sigma, it's like, oh dear lord, you were having a good time. I could tell. Like, and he was really getting into the character as well. And like, I would have maybe given him with like something with the Sigma virus in terms of like is like a level 5 hyper. But besides that, I was pleased how he functioned with like his sword slashes, lingering projectiles on the screen and other stuff, and like the universal counter and things. So
Oh my god,
he
those
really
were great.
yeah, and obviously the semi brain dad super armor dash move.
Yep.
But
Oh, I love that move.
I was good with that.
I would do that like where he dashes forward and slashes. I would do that
Yeah.
move and then call Venom in, and Venom would go web throw, and like he just like fucking smash him around the screen. It was such a good setup for that.
Yeah, and then you could pick up from the web throw, obviously.
Yep.
My main team in the game was actually just side note. It was Ultron Sigma, not to be
Ooh.
confused with the Fuse thing, but like that. But it was just Team Robot all the way.
Well, he's really good. Like I think I think Ultron is top tier in that.
Yeah, he was crazy good. Even even after they nerfed him, like especially his jumping high punch, which had, like the hitbox on that thing was just ridiculous. But like that team worked for me, and it was like, yes, Team Robot, this will work for me. And I've one more rep I would like to see from Mega Man X, because it took us already ages to get one villain in there. I mean, X already took ages. I would throw in Vile as well.
Yeah.
And make him like this, like normal as like his little robot esque form, just make him zoning, but give him like an install hyper where he hops in his right armor, and then make him in this like crazy rush down command grab character, and have like a timer on the right armor as in the game, and when it explodes, then you can still like juggles or the OTGs. So this would be really cool.
Oh my god.
So
yeah, I could see that because
yeah.
think of it like Devilot, the assist from Marvel vs. Capcom 1 where she
Yeah,
pops up
yeah.
and she's like, ha! And then blows up. If you had that, like when he jumps out of the armor and creates an explosion, that would be amazing. And nobody can say that this is not going to work because we've had Tron Bon in this fucking franchise since 2 and 3, so
No excuse.
no excuse.
Definitely not. And I actually have one extra fun bit going back to those infamous Echo characters.
Ooh.
I would give a premium skin to Akuma, and you know where this is going. So you can have Magma Dragoon.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
he was basically Akuma in Mega Man X.
What?
Just
No,
slightly
he was more Ken because he had fire.
Maybe, yeah.
Like, cause
Yeah,
he,
well,
like he had like a Shoryuken. When he Shoryuken, he had a flaming uppercut, and well, okay, there was. I mean, he did throw fire Hadokens, but there was that one move like where he like opened up his mouth and like the fire came out. So I'm like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
that could be like Akuma's, because like how Akuma has a beam move in the beam
Yeah, and that
in
could be
that,
for him.
but then he's also got like the when he fires the beam. Sometimes it's not a beam; it's like the multiple fucking fireballs, like almost like
Yeah,
fire coming
if
out
you
of his
hold
hand.
the button, it's the beam, and if you don't hold the button, it's the fireballs.
Mm.
But like he also has like the beads as like the necklace.
Oh,
Magma
that's right, he
himself.
did.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
it's fine. It's fine. But yeah, that would just be like such a like because I know that Magma Dragoon
Yep.
has its fans, and that would be such just a cool Easter egg to have that, like I said, an Echo character. Just give him a different voice actor and just maybe some slight tweaks on the moveset, like different hyper and stuff like that. But technically just Akuma. But people would eat that up, I'm sure of it.
Oh my god, yeah, like no, he's just like such a fun character, and I think he's like, I would say like out of all the characters, what do you call it there?
Mavericks.
Out of all the Mavericks, I think he might be the most memorable after like the first X series robots, but I really think he's
Yeah,
like more
definitely.
memorable because just of how different he was. Like he was a guy that like turned Maverick. He let the Sky Lagoon crash. He killed all those people.
Yeah.
He pretty much like set off like the whole like we need to stop Repliforce. So I think it's a good call adding him. Honestly, I would have chosen him myself. But yeah, that's a good choice.
And actually, I think he's the only like recurring one because he comes. Well, it's a training stage, but you fight him as like this hologram-esque thing as a boss in Mega Man X5, if I recall correctly.
That's right, you do. I forgot about that. It's been
Yeah.
ages since I played 5.
I'm old. I remember too many things. Now I'm just gonna stroll into like the I just kept those separated because it's like the smaller franchises, just some other characters I want to throw in there because you need them for flavor.
Yeah. Oh, I mean,
You-
I just want to say like what I would choose for the X series. I would
Yeah,
definitely
go
say
ahead,
like
sorry.
Oh no problem. I think that Magma Dragoon is perfect. If there was ever a character I would have added first, that would have been the character. But I also feel that I want to see Colonel from Mega Man X4. I want to see him.
Oh yeah, with the saber.
Yep, I
Yeah.
would love to see him or Double, who was in X4. I think Double was a great character.
Yeah,
even though
I know
they didn't do
the
too
one
much with
friends
him.
who did a literal heel turn technically.
Yeah, he did, and like his fight with X is pretty good because he's bouncing all around the walls, and I'm like, well, we've seen that with Marvel characters like Strider Hiryu can like go off the walls and shit. So like you could literally do Double and stuff. I think. I'm not sure if Double would take as much as Magma Dragoon if you would put him in there, but at the same time, there are a lot of X like characters, but we don't get to see a lot of them do a lot of different things. They all
No.
Cygnus and Douglas, what do you call it? There, Alia, like they all stay behind and do everything. Like, so like that's why I'm saying like you'd have to do that. Or what's his name? Dynamo from X5. His theme song is amazing.
Yeah, I'm having trouble remembering him, but I know I actually he's more like the Tappen that I remember him actually.
Yeah,
and not so much X5. It's been ages since I played that game. So
well, he's like literally the best part in X5 because like he's got like the best song in the whole game, and he's a fun character to fight against and stuff. But I think that he would be a really good one. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, we already got Zero and X coming back, of course. So those are my choices. Again, Magma Dragoon, I think, would out of any X character that's going to be in it, even before X and Zero themselves, I would love to see Magma Dragoon be in. I just love the character. It's literally a robotic Ken Masters that's a dragon. It's just, I mean, it makes sense too because
really cool.
Shoryuken means dragon punch. So
yes, who would have thought? And like I love the stage as well of Magma Dragoon because you could, if you would do it cleverly, you could fight him in like one of the ride armors, which would make the fight a lot easier.
oh my god, that'd be so cool. Like it could be like a definite like a nice little like intro battle. Like Vile drops down and then like he drops in, and Dragoon's just like, you think that's gonna help you? It didn't help X and Zero. Yeah, you do something like that.
Oh yeah, the typical intro. So here we're going to do voice acting next. Who knows? I already love this. Like I love the what is it called? Speculate about things. And like a game like this really needs to happen seriously.
Oh yeah.
But
It-
you were speaking of the infamous Strider Ryu. Obviously, he needs to be in a crossover game. Period.
oh yeah, he's become like Strider's been in since MVC1. So
Yeah, he's like a staple, and I would like to pluck one more character of the franchise because I've been like, I've played a bunch of those games, and like they used the Grandmaster in some cinematics in Infinite, and I'm just like, yeah, I guess, but I would say wheel in. I don't know if you know Solo. He's like the flying boss with like guns and shit. He's also on Teppen. Maybe that will help.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, sorry. So, I was like, I
It's
totally
fine.
blanked
It's
on that.
fine. He's
Yeah, he's that dude that's like,
sure.
he's like all like silver. He's got like that massive blade sword on his arm. Yep.
Yeah. He's like massive guns and stuff, and like how he would function. I'm just gonna say two words. You know what a aerial cable.
Ah.
Obviously with some differentiation, but like the main line is that because he flies, and like not a lot of Capcom characters have like flight and stuff, and like kind of Marvel as gameplay, you know, Magnetos and stuff, like it's flight. But just like the sheer horror of having a character with aerial movement and cable gun play and zoning, that would just be. I don't even know if it's a good idea to put it in because it might be like too OP, but just the concept and the character looks cool as well. So I would propose him as well. You gotta have the Mayor of Earth as well, Mike Hagar.
Oh God, yeah. Hagar is like he's got to be in.
Yeah, definitely. I would say bring back Amaterasu, aka Amy, as well, because that was such a fun character.
Yep.
I was not my type to play with, but like I love the fact that it's like we have a. Well, it's not a dog; it's a wolf, and she's a god. But like the character was so different from all like the humans and stuff. So it was just great. Period. And now I have a newcomer. You know this little game called Dino Crisis, perhaps?
yes.
We are overdue for Regina
Oh,
in a
so
game like
far
this.
overdue. Yeah.
Yeah, and she would like this is what I refer to when I was talking about Jill, because you know MVC2 Jill had like the summons with like oh zombie dog and crow, and she needs to be a summoning character with some gunplay. So because what is more better than a crossover game? Having a crossover game with dinosaurs in it.
Yep.
You could have like dinosaur summons and stuff. Like I mean, they did it a bit in that defunct puzzle fighter game.
Oh yeah. That one that like that was a mobile one, right?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
like just have instead of just see MVC2 Jill where she would call out a dog, then Regina would have a raptor and have a T-Rex hyper because the world needs a T-Rex hyper.
Dude, I always felt the same thing with Regina. It's just like just give her Jill's like moveset from MVC2,
Yeah.
but just give it dinosaurs like, you know, when the dog runs out, it's a raptor, everything like that. Or, you know,
Pterodon.
yeah, like you can have like like an air instead of a crow, it's like a pterodactyl, like a mini one that like swoops down and shit, like, you know, to like so you can like keep people from jumping in on you, like things like
Yeah.
that would be really amazing to like do, you know, like again, Regina's a character that definitely deserves it because it's a franchise that Capcom's completely forgotten about.
Yeah, and people still love it. I mean, and even if you don't know the franchise, then you're like, oh, this girl can summon dinosaurs, and like, who doesn't like dinosaurs?
Exactly.
But there's one big question though, and this is a very peculiar question. Are we going to have classic dinosaur or feathered dinosaur? I'm just playing you.
Oh, Jesus.
just make them like they were in the game. I'm not going to discuss. We're not going into paleontology here.
Well,
but
don't worry.
yeah, Regina is like way overdue for a game to be in a like a crossover game, and we need the Dino Crisis remake, Capcom. Please,
We do.
please just do it.
Like
do.
you've already proven that RE2 works. And I
Yeah.
think Ari. Here's the thing about now, get a little off topic, but Ari,
Fine.
RE2 does what RE7 and Village couldn't in terms of keeping the horror exactly as it should be throughout the whole game.
Yeah.
7 did for a little bit for the most part of the game, but when you get to that ship area and then you got to do it
It gets a
again,
bit wonky.
yeah, it gets pretty bad. But then, I think that if Dino Crisis is to happen, you can still do it. You can see the dinosaurs coming around the corridors. I really feel that they can make it done. Or just do classic camera angles. They say it's not possible, but we all know that it is possible because fans out there can do shit like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, she definitely deserves it. The whole franchise does as a whole, and she definitely deserves to be in Marvel. The next Capcom
Marvel,
game.
non-Marvel.
Yeah, no, definitely the next
Love
Capcom title. Because people, I honestly, I was also kind of bummed out that Jill didn't get a Regina outfit as DLC for UMVC 3. But yeah, definitely, I agree 100% with Regina. I agree with that.
Rolling on with the small franchises, obviously, bring back Arthur because it's a classic franchise, Ghouls and Ghosts, and have him have Firebrand tag along because he's a pretty unique character to begin with. How he played,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan, but I acknowledge the importance of the franchise, so throw them in there while you're at it, and bring back Frank West as well because his moveset was fun. He was pretty unique.
Oh yeah, definitely. You got to bring back Frank West.
Yeah, the franchise isn't doing that great, but he's been in multiple crossover games now, so put him in. And side note, have an echo character for Frank being Chuck Green.
I'd be okay
change
with
up
that.
A few supers.
I'd be okay
so you
with
have
that.
Some extra love, Dead Rising love, because it needs some love because it didn't get a lot of love recently.
No, it did not.
It did not. Oh dear Lord. We're getting close to the end now. Don't get sad. I would personally bring back PTX-40A Robot, which was in Tatsunoko versus Capcom, but being of Lost Planet, by the way, make it a bit smaller because that one was actually huge. I think it was bigger than it is in the game where it's from. I know it's piloted, but it wasn't that big. Make him like Sentinel sized, as in in those one in the Versus series, and leaner and smaller and faster. Not the permanent hyper armor, so maybe some super armor on some moves, but make him more like a Sentinel-esque thing, but you'll still have a big robot. And I kind of think Lost Planet is one of those other franchises that went the wrong way. I feel it got definitely killed off when Lost Planet 3 was just a step in the wrong direction, I guess, for that franchise. But I think the first game did all right, and the second one sold the most, I think. And I actually still like that game, but it would be nice to see a representative of a game like Lost Planet in there, just to change things up.
That's true.
And it was
You're right.
a pretty interesting character. I thought it was actually my main in TVC, but that's a different story. But chainsaw blades on the thing and having these guns and stuff like that. It was a pretty fun character to begin with. The last franchise I wanted to touch upon is Star Gladiator.
Oh, there's an oldie.
I love that franchise, but obviously dig up Hayato again because he was in Marvel too. Give him some buffs though because he needs it. But he was a fun character to play with because technically the Star Gladiator is just kind of like Capcom's version of Star Wars in a way. It would also be a kind of a slap in the face of Disney because they own Marvel, and it's we have our Star Wars as well.
We'll go make our own Star Wars game.
Yeah.
Blackjack and hookers.
And maybe do a second character. I mean, there are multiple picks, but I would throw in Bill Stein because he's basically Capcom's Darth Vader, and make him like still like slow and lumbering, but big damage, but above average range with his sword normals, and give him some like range command drones because he has like this telekinetic. Sorry, I'm still Dutch. And make him scary for like even a big character, but give him like a range command throw or something. I mean, there are multiple Star Gladiator characters, but I think those are like more recognizable to begin with because some of them are very obscure. I mean, I would throw in Zelkin as like a, like the Birdman, like the it looks like a bit like a budgie basically.
Yeah.
And I would throw him in and make him like this aerial command throw grappler character. I don't know how scary that would be actually, but like I would throw Zelkin in. But that's just me. Do you have like any other infamous LMI corner of Capcom characters you would want to see?
Oh yeah, right off the bat, I would love to see either Ray or Ryu from Breath of Fire 3 be playable characters in these games.
Ah, yes, Breath of Fire.
Yeah, that's a franchise that's been long forgotten about, but I think Ray would be a great like Rekka character in many ways. With his like using claws or like he has lightning moves. He's got his daggers and like his level 3 like or like an install one. It could be where he transforms into the Were Tiger like he does in Breath of Fire 3. Ryu same way. Ryu could have a bunch of different transformations into dragons like cuz like that's what he does in the game. That's like his main thing. But I think that like his playstyle would be really cool. I think those two characters would be fine representatives from Breath of Fire 3. Even like a character from Breath of Fire 4 wouldn't be too bad if it was whether it was Ryu or just maybe even Ryu from that one. But I really feel that like Capcom's also heavily ignored Breath of Fire for the longest time, and I really feel that is a good series to make people go, hey, these characters are really cool. Where are they from again? Because if you still have a PlayStation 3, you could download Breath of Fire 3 and 4 for it. And if you have, what do you call it there, the Nintendo Switch, you actually can get Breath of Fire 1 and 2 on the Switch now for, like, free. Because it's...
Yeah, the Yes in Yes version, I think.
Yep, exactly.
I never play those games because I'm not a big RPG person, so it's not for me. But like I when I did those like character polls on managed those on SRK, like a lot of people were craving for Ryu, as in from Breath of Fire, and then the discussion came like, but you have Ryu from Street Fighter, so you have two Ryu, so they probably won't do that, blah blah whatever. But another character that also got brought up a lot was Nina. And I know she's basically like this girl with like angel wings or something. And I don't know much about her. She's a healer or something, I think.
She's the team's magic user in each of the games and everything like that. So weak on attack, but her magic is really good. She's really like a character that people love. And yeah, like she gets... What's weird, right? Like in Breath of Fire 3, she doesn't have wings, even though she has art showing that she has wings. But they never... animated the wings into the game, but she has them in like 1 and 2, and she's got it I believe in 4. So like yeah, like the Breath of Fire characters I think would fit really, like you could make her almost like Doctor Strange in many ways.
Yeah, because it's one of those rare characters that like with flight.
Yep.
Which would really work. Like and now that I think of it, like there's another character, but she would kind of like go into the same thing as Solo. She was what's she called again? She was an assist character in Marvel 1. Michelle Hart.
Oh like, yeah, from
She was basically this is like girl with wings and gun, but same with Nina because you give her like you could make her like Doctor Strange-esque because she has spells, which gives you a lot of like more leeway of making her interesting than having another character with like guns or the thing Smash suffers from being another sword user.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think Michelle Hart would be great from it. Legendary Wings, that's the name of the game. I totally forgot that.
Yes.
It just popped into my head. And you like if it's a fighting game that you're having, then you can't leave out these guys, even though Capcom has seemingly forgotten about this franchise too. and you gotta have Edward Falcon or Rogue from Power Stone.
Power Stone.
Like,
Yeah, you would say with Marvel Infinite, it's like the Power Stone is in there. Why is there not a Power Stone character?
it's
But
true.
yeah, it feels like they've forgotten about Power Stone totally. Which it was like basically their version of Smash, kinda.
Yeah,
Just kinda.
was it Smash before Smash? I think it came out.
Maybe,
I
yeah.
think there was like a couple months difference between. I think it came out first, and then Smash came out a couple months later. But yeah, like that was really a great game. I actually just went through and played through Power Stone 1 again. But I think Edward Falcon, he's basically like a boxer character. He like grapples and stuff, and he kind of becomes Iron Man when he gets the 3 power
Yeah,
gems.
he's power up. He's becomes this like flying character, which always works wonders in those like versus style games.
Yeah, like
So that could technically work pretty well, actually.
yeah, like you
And
would have so much to offer with a Power Stone character. Same with Rogue and stuff. Her backdash could be her like just flying on her carpet to backdash and stuff. Like a little nod to her like wind pose
yeah,
and
not
stuff
to
like that.
the Easter eggs as well. And I think like Falcon is kind of like the most recognizable character of the franchise. If you need to have like a face for that franchise to begin with,
Oh, definitely.
I
Yeah.
mean yeah. I mean, there would be other character franchises I would throw in there, but I've no idea. Like for example, Hunting Ground. But I can't, for the life, think of how Fiona would work in a fighting game. It just wouldn't, because I know she has like a kick and a push, and that's it. And you would have Huey, but like there's not much to work with. Let's be honest. So
Yeah, like I'm actually thinking about that. It's like, yeah, you would have to like revolve around her using Huey to help you. Think of it almost like how the original Mega Man from like MVC 1 and 2 had Rush following him and stuff like that. Like that would literally be what you would have to do. But again, there's not enough to
Yeah.
really make her that super interesting for a fighter. But I mean, yeah, like there's so many Capcom games out there that you could have. I mean,
Definitely.
let's. I guess for the last pick, I will choose right now. I definitely gotta say Captain Commando. He's been gone. I love
Yeah, you
Captain
do it.
Commando. I loved his game back in the day, and I loved how like he was supposed to be Capcom's mascot, and Mega Man was just like, nah, dude, I'm the guy who wears blue around here.
I
And yeah, it's just I really feel that would be a great character to have because he was so loved in like the first 2 MVC games. And in MVC 1, his fucking special move, oh my god, if you launched somebody and then went right into the hyper with that move, the damage was
the sword.
stupid good. And his Captain Corridor assist move in MVC 2 is godlike.
Yeah, that's the reason why he basically like that. Only that assist is top tier, like because it's so good.
Yeah, it really is. Like he's just a character that would have a lot to offer to the modern day. And again, with all these other characters getting these comebacks, maybe he ends up in this game. Maybe we get a Captain Commando remake or a Captain Commando 2 or something. Like there's just Capcom has this library of characters that they're ignoring. Now, if you don't want to make games because you feel that the games might not sell well on their own, I can respect that. But when you put together a Capcom versus game in the style of MVC, and you are going to get people who are going to be like, holy shit, like they're making another MVC game, and like you're not going to focus on esports, you're not going to focus on money management, you're going to make a game, you're going to make it with love, and you're going to listen to what the fans want in terms of gameplay mechanics and characters. Because one thing that Street Fighter V kind of did right at one point was they understood that we needed a game with more characters. They gave us that. But what did they also give us? Outfits. They gave us crossover outfits. Like we had Darkstalkers outfits. We had all these other like outfits from Red Earth, and we had Ghosts and Goblins.
Really old, obscure stuff.
Yeah,
Definitely.
like there was like Ghosts and Goblins. Like Ryu had the Arthur armor.
Yeah,
Bison got one
including
too.
the trunks.
Yeah, he did. He had that as an option too. So, we've talked a lot about the fighting game and how you make it, and I think we've done a pretty good job of giving like a roster. Like, I think that they would need to sink some serious money into it. But if I was Capcom, I would go for it. Like, you have to just go back and it's like, well, why was MVC once like what? No, you know what? We got to go back even further. Why was X-Men versus Street Fighter so good? Why was Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter? Okay, well, a lot of people didn't like that game. I can understand why, but like, why was that? Why did X-Men Children of the Atom? Why was that so huge? Why is MVC 1, 2, and 3 still regarded as some of the best fighting games out there? Like, why are there still tournaments dedicated to these 20-year-old games at this point? Like, what are we missing? Really do your research, and you can make a game that works. You can really like give fans something that they want, because it's like anything else. If you give the fans what they want, they will give you your money.
Yes, they would, even if you add in like DLC, they will just give you more money. Like I said, this stupid thing with having like an Echo character premium thing. If you would throw in Ken and the base game's good, people will happily buy something like that for a $5 or something. They'll be, or maybe a bit more. I don't know what's like in terms of prices, but they will happily do that if you like your base game is good and if you show the love of it. Because like if you compare, like you said, why do people still like Marvel 2? Because it's just basically a celebration of like all the history and characters they built up until that point, and the same kind of with Marvel 3. Like they had some throwbacks in there as well, because certain franchises at that point in time didn't get much attention or love, being like Zero, or even like, let's say, Devil May Cry, because that was kind of like halted at that point as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's just really so much that like they utilized back in the day, and they had games that worked for them years ago. Why not bring these things back? Why not like start thinking, you know what? These games worked for us at one point. Power Stone was really good. Why aren't we gonna, like, you know what? We gotta add Edward Falcon to this game, right? And by doing that and making these characters really fun to play and giving them, you know, like a purpose, you're gonna make people go, shit, where's this character from? This is a great character. And then you can either re-release Power Stone, like in a Power Stone collection, like you did for the PlayStation Portable, and you know, release it on like Switch and all the other platforms with like crossplay and all this stuff. You can do this, and people will buy it. But again, Capcom has to take the risk, and I think it's a risk that they can afford, because the only thing right now that, well, it's different now, but I think before their fighting game division was in shambles for years.
Yeah.
And now it's getting better, thankfully. Like, they got the right people in charge of Street Fighter. They understand that, like, you know, it's not just the business. That someone must have told them that. It's just like, hey, this is what we're going to do to make people happy. And people are still, you know, like, mad about Street Fighter V, which I can understand. But it isn't the same game it once was when it launched.
No.
It's not even the same game it was 2 years ago. Like, they've really done it. They've really changed things. And, you know, that's the thing. Capcom needs to just really sit down and take a look, and don't look at the numbers, like, from past games. Like, don't look at why MVCI failed. Same thing like with, like, you know, how people want, like, a new Dino Crisis or a new, you know, a new Outbreak. It's like, don't look at why Outbreak didn't sell back in the day. Don't think about why it didn't. Just look at Monster Hunter World. Monster Hunter World and Outbreak they share one massive thing in common. It's a game that you play to survive and play with friends. So if that works for Monster Hunter World,
why wouldn't it work?
Yeah, why wouldn't it work for Outbreak now? And that's the whole thing. Like, you have all these great IPs, and you don't have to make new games for them right now, but you can reintroduce new Capcom fans, people who are just coming into Street Fighter in their life now, or people that are just coming into Resident Evil now in their life, right? Like, or people who just started playing Monster Hunter World because it was so hype and everything. You got brand new fans coming in, and you can introduce them to why the company was what it was during the 80s and the 90s.
And like you said, there's like way less risk of like, oh, we'll throw in this one Power Stone character or other smaller franchise in there, because you're not, like, you're putting in one character in a game that will likely sell well to begin with. And there's way less risk than, oh yes, we are going to do a new game which people mostly forgotten about, and then it bombs. Well, I can understand you don't want to put yourself at risk as a company for that, but this is like, if you do a game like this, it's no excuse to do that.
Yeah, like, you got a chance. Like, take a chance on one game instead of, like, starting a project of all games, like, say like it's like, oh yeah, we're remaking, Legendary Wings.
Yeah.
That's probably not going to sell that well because people don't know what it is. Darkstalkers, right? Like, you could say you're making a new Darkstalkers game, but people would be very hesitant about that because they've already been, they already have felt the burn. So, like, I mean, not to say that Darkstalkers Resurrection wasn't good. It's actually a really good port with online play that works really well. But again,
Definitely.
it's
not what people wanted.
yeah, it's a port of a re-release from like things that we've already had twice before. We haven't had
Yeah,
a real continuation since 1999 when the third game came out.
Nope.
So, if you
That's
just
not what the people wanted. So yeah,
Darkstalkers
it's like you
might as
said,
well be dead.
Listen to the fans.
Yeah, listen, like, it kind of comes down to like filmmaking and like when fans make films and games too. I always say that fans do it better. One of the reasons why Street Fighter Assassin's Fist, that series that came out of Machinima, one of the reasons why that worked so fucking well as it did was because Christian Howard, who played Ken Masters in that, and Joey Anash, who played Akuma when he finally transformed, they understood what Street Fighter was, and they did add a little bit of their own touch to the stories, but it worked because you feel that what they added would be something that would be in the Street Fighter universe. One of the reasons why things like look at like that short film The Devil Within, the Street Fighter Cross Tekken promotion that they did.
Yeah. I know that one.
Yeah, that was beloved by so many people, and like, can we get a series of this?
Really good.
Yeah, and then what was it? A Broken Gear, the Final Fight fan film that came out. The guy playing Hagar in that was fucking spot on. Like, these guys, they understood what it takes to make this. Hollywood can't do that. Now, granted, the Mortal Kombat movie did pretty good for what it was. Anything. It could have done a little bit better in certain areas, but it's definitely a right step in the right direction because the guy himself was a fan. But when you just have fans do it, it works. Best example, the fans that tried to make Resident Evil 2 remake like themselves like 5 years ago or whatever it was.
Yeah.
They were using the assets from the Dark Side Chronicles to make a remake of the game, and Capcom shut them down. But they brought them on board to work on the remake, the official remake. So
That's smart.
yeah, see, that's what you do. You don't punish your fans for being fans. You bring your fans in on it, or you ask your fans, "Hey, what would you want to see in this?" And don't just like make a poll on Twitter or your official Capcom webpage and just be like, "Yeah, what games do you want to see do this, do that," and never do anything with it. Like, people want to see it, and I think that if you can make this fighting game happen, or hell, even a Marvel vs. Capcom 4, and you actually like put some effort into it, you're going to see why people come to you for fighting games. You're going to see why your games are more legendary than things like Mortal Kombat or Killer Instinct or King of Fighters. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think they can do it. I really think they could.
Definitely. Like, there's one thing I want to ask you. It's like, which is the biggest thing? Like, would you prefer it to go back to like 3 versus 3, like kind of like Marvel 3 did? Or like, obviously they did something different with Infinite, like being 2 versus 2 with the stones. Obviously, if something like this would happen, you're not gonna have Infinity Stones because Marvel.
Yeah. I actually thought about that during this because I was wondering if you were going to ask this question, and I really do like the 2v2 style a lot. Like, that's kind of like what we grew up with when they started doing like X-Men versus Street Fighter and stuff, and
Yeah.
we had a blast for years with that style. And when MVC2 came around, it kind of changed the game. And while I think that the 2v2 style gives you a more simple but also very effective and a crazy amount of things that can happen, the 3v3 style just works so much better because, again, team synergy can be a lot more with 3 people. It gives you more like combinations. It can give you just a hell of a lot more out of the matches. And I really prefer... I mean, okay, look, if I get either one, I'll be happy. Like, if I get a 2-on-2 or a 3 versus 3, I'm going to be happy. But personally, I will take a 3-on-3. If they go back to the MVC2, UMVC3 way, I'll be happy with that. You don't need. I don't think you need an X factor. You don't need no stones. I don't think you really need a gimmick. I think you just need to, make a Marvel game just like how MVC 1 and 2 were. I think just give characters enough assists. Have them have assists and
Useful
stuff.
assists.
Yeah, useful assists. I mean, some I feel some characters always had at least like one good one. Some had two, but like sometimes some of them just felt like they didn't have any.
Yeah. What I agree with you that like the 3v3 is like kind of iconic, so you can't steer away from that. Although I have to admit that like the whole free flow tag system of Infinite was fun as well in terms of creativity.
It's true. Very true.
I would maybe try. I don't know how it would work in like practice, if it would end up being like uber broken or not. But maybe since you don't have a stone, you have a button tree. Have this free flow tag mechanic, but with three. I can't speak anymore. Teams of 3 characters.
Yeah.
So still 3v3, but with that system.
That
I don't know how hectic that would become, but
well,
I'm not sure. Otherwise, I would deviate back to the 3v3. But
actually, the way you're saying it, like you could. Okay, so what you would do is you would switch somebody in. Like say like you're like doing like a combo and you call for like somebody to come in and you switch to them. Then you can't switch back to the second the character you just switched out or the third character that's on your anchor. You can't do that until the timer switches up, and I think that would be a pretty good way to do it if it's not too hectic.
Yeah, because I mean, you now have like you had the tag button in Infinite, and you had a button for the stone, but that button can become the tag button for the third character. So yeah, you need to have a timer on it or something, because otherwise you can basically go on forever with combos, which, well, let's say Touch of Death was always a problem in Marvel, but you don't want to overdo it. But it would be fun, and like otherwise, if it's just like regular 3 versus 3, like I think they tried it a bit with I read in interviews wanting to go towards 4 versus 4, but that's like too zany to begin with. I think.
Yeah, that's a little too chaotic, I feel.
Yeah, so I would either like back to the Marvel 2 and 3 ways, or like 3 versus 3 with like the free flow tag mechanic, so you can have best of both worlds. Balances.
Exactly, yeah. But yeah, I think that's pretty good. This we've been doing this for about like 2 hours now, so this was really like this is a good idea, dude. Thanks for bringing it to me. Like this was a lot of fun.
No worries. I love to talk about stuff like this.
Yeah, well, it's just because like I mean, yeah, like fighting games are what you and I are very passionate about for what we both play and what we both collect. Like in terms of figures, and I collect fighting game figures too, but I also collect like arcade sticks. So like this is really like a big deal, and hopefully Capcom, they wake up and they start realizing, shit, yeah, this is what we got to do. We got to start doing stuff like this.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, yeah. But all right, dude. But yeah, thanks for again joining me today. For everybody that's watching, thank you for listening to us today. It's greatly appreciated. If you want to follow Lost in Nightmares, as you can tell right here on the screen, or well, when the screen is up, you will see you can follow him because his only thing is Instagram that he has. So give him a follow over there because this guy is one hell of a cosplayer. He does a lot of Capcom stuff, and dude, I still think your Geese Howard's fucking rocks. Like that shit's amazing.
Thanks.
That's
I'm flattered now.
Dude, I fucking love it. It's great because Geese Howard's like the best. But yeah, if you guys want to follow me too, you can also follow me on my social medias at One Big Boss for Twitter and Instagram. You can follow me right here on New to Retro Reviews. Just click the subscribe button if you like what you're hearing. And you can also follow me on Twitch at Outer Heaven Gaming. All these things will be up here on the screen, of course. And please do so. So with that being said, thank you all for listening. I'm One Big Boss, and I will see you all next time.